TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel is closely monitoring emerging reports related to the newly exposed variant of the coronavirus. In light of the reported spread of the new coronavirus variant, Jerusalem is deliberating shutting its borders to international flights hermetically. Germany calls on Iran to stop tactical maneuvers which undermine the 2015 nuclear agreement. Israel is closely monitoring emerging reports related to the newly exposed variant of the coronavirus. It is not yet known whether the new strain may be resistant to the recently approved and now also distributed vaccines, which Jerusalem's leaders had hoped could alleviate the 9-month-long health crisis, as well as its numerous social and economic ramifications. A day after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Health Minister Yuli Edelstein inoculated in front of the cameras in a bid to convince the general public in Israel to follow suit, the Israeli premier convened Jerusalem's so-called Corona Cabinet to deliberate a response to the latest reported developments.
אתמול שמענו מגורמים בארגון הבריאות העולמי על המוטציה החדשה בנגיף הקורונה, ושמענו גם את הצהרתו של בוריס ג'ונסון, ראש ממשלת בריטניה, על התפשטות הנגיף עם המוטציה בארצו. אני כינסתי מיד, אתמול בלילה, צוות שרים כדי לדון בזה, וכינסתי את הקבינט היום כדי להחליט החלטות חשובות. על פי המידע שיש בידינו, המוטציה הזאת מתפשטת הרבה יותר מהר מהנגיף הרגיל, אבל היא לא קטלנית יותר. וגם אין לנו שום סימן שהחיסון שיש בידינו לא מתגבר עליה. כרגע זה המידע שיש לנו, אנחנו כמובן עוקבים על כך.
Netanyahu went on to highlight Jerusalem's efforts to thwart the variant of the disease from entering Israel, which included a government decision effective immediately to bar all flights to Israel from the United Kingdom, Denmark, and South Africa.
אבל בשעה שאנחנו יוצאים היום לדרך עם מבצע החיסונים הענק, יש לנו גם אתגר נוסף שאנחנו חייבים לטפל בו. אנחנו עושים הכל כדי למנוע את כניסת המוטציה לישראל. וקיבלנו היום החלטה קשה, אבל היא מחויבת המציאות. סגרנו את השמיים לכל הטיסות לישראל, מבריטניה, מדנמרק ומדרום אפריקה, אלה המדינות שבהן נוכחת המוטציה. במידת הצורך אנחנו נוסיף מדינות נוספות.
It is important to turn our attention to London, where England's chief medical officer sought to alleviate global hysteria over the new variant of the corona disease by emphasizing that there is not enough data to indicate that the variant in question is more harmful than the first mutation commonly referred to as COVID-19.
So far, there is no evidence that the symptoms are any worse or different from other variants of this coronavirus. And there are many variants, and I think it's not just there's one coronavirus and this is the variant. There are many variants. It just happens that this one has quite a few more mutations than some of the other variants. So that's the reason why we've taken it more, particularly seriously. But there's nothing to suggest that the symptoms are different, that the testing is different, or that the clinical outcome is different for this variant. The main reason we are raising it to people's attention is the question about, is this spreading more quickly? And that may be cause and effect, or it may not.
Turning back to Jerusalem, where the nationwide campaign to inoculate the general public launched yesterday, with hundreds of Israelis responding favorably to the leadership's call.
We started yesterday to vaccinate our citizens. We already did yesterday 600, and for today they are scheduled about another 600 or 700. Already, up to now, everything is fine. No side effects, nothing else.
So it feels less than a flu shot. It's I'm used to doing this with my insulin. Thank God I feel amazing. This is a day we waited for. Life was very hard the past 10 months. I thank God for sending the doctors to really get this vaccine going in record time.
I feel wonderful. I didn't feel a thing, and I'm very excited that now I'm on the way to being totally vaccinated, which will allow me to travel and to increase my social interactions and to contribute to the society, that being part of the solution to this issue, that we will be able to get back to our normal lives.
It is important to know that despite David Friedman's hopes to travel, he may be dismayed to learn that Jerusalem is currently deliberating closing Israel's borders completely as a precautionary measure to bar the corona contagion's new variant from infiltrating the Jewish state. In a written statement, Netanyahu stressed this morning, quote, "I asked to convene the cabinet for one purpose, and that is to close the skies. Since the meeting last night, the mutation has spread in very many countries, and it is clear to us that we are at the start of a very rapid spread. The viral mass entering Israel must be reduced as much as possible, even as in England, they are currently checking what exactly this virus is, whether it is resistant to the vaccine, and additional questions. In order to do this, I ask that we duplicate what we did during the first wave of the coronavirus to close the skies as quickly as possible." The Prime Minister's office did not provide TV7 an exact timetable regarding the expected decision. In other news, active participant states of the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran reaffirmed their commitment to preserve the so-called JCPOA, short for the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, as a ministerial meeting of the E3+2, which includes France, Britain, and Germany, plus Russia and China, along with a representative from the Islamic Republic of Iran, concluded a meeting under EU auspices this morning. In a joint ministerial statement, the participants stressed their respective efforts to preserve the agreement and underscored the important role of the International Atomic Energy Agency as the sole impartial and independent international organization mandated by the UN Security Council to monitor and verify the implementation of the JCPOA. The statement once again reiterated the participants' deep regret toward the U.S. withdrawal from the agreement, while further stressing that UN Resolution 2231 remains fully in force. And while the statement was evidently watered down to appease Iran, which is evidently in a state of non-compliance with the agreement at this stage, German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas made use of a press briefing after the meeting in which he rebuked the Islamic Republic over its application of what Berlin's top diplomat termed tactical maneuvers which undermined the agreement.
Eine Annäherung der USA unter Biden tatsächlich zu ermöglichen, darf es nun keine weiteren taktischen Manöver geben, von denen wir in der letzten Zeit viele gesehen haben. Die würden nämlich nichts anderes tun, als das Abkommen weiter auszuhöhlen. Die Chance, die sich jetzt bietet, dieses letzte Zeitfenster, darf nicht verspielt werden. Und das haben wir heute, besonders gegenüber dem Iran, noch einmal sehr deutlich gemacht. Vielen Dank.
Despite repeated statements coming out of Tehran over the Ayatollah regime's indisposition to renegotiate the 2015 nuclear deal, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Mariano Grossi, emphasized in an interview with the London-based Reuters news agency that simply returning to the terms of the agreement is not feasible at this stage.
I cannot imagine that they are going simply to say we are back to square one, because square one is no longer there. There is more material. I've been reporting about this. There is more activity. There are more centrifuges, and more are being announced. So what happens with all this? This is the question for them at the political level to decide, and then we can help.
Grossi further explained that the nuclear activities which Iran undertook during the past several months altered the state of reality on the ground, which is not and cannot be consistent with the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action.
Now, if you wanted to go to these levels, you will need to do stuff. It's not simply saying we go back. And then what happens with, are we continuing to have that? Do we put the material in a box, or the centrifuges, we leave them there? What is this? So all of these steps, they will have to decide politically, and then hopefully we will have a good technical conversation as to how we can do that, and how fast we can do it, and so on and so forth.
So it sounds like you're contradicting what the Iranians have said, which was that all these steps can be quickly reversed, and then we go back to...
Quickly, yes, it can be quickly, but there are things to be done. It's not automatic. This is what I mean.
And so you anticipate there would have to be some kind of deal within the deal then?
Oh, yes. Undoubtedly.
In response to the IAEA chief's remarks, Iran's ambassador to the nuclear watchdog categorically rejected the suggestion the revival of the JCPOA would require the striking of a new agreement. In a statement on his Twitter account, Kazem Garibabadi called on the International Atomic Energy Agency to mind its own business by writing, quote, "Presenting any assessment on how the commitments are implemented is absolutely beyond the mandate of the agency and should be avoided." He further reiterated Tehran's position, which stipulates that there would be no renegotiation on the deal, and in case of its revival, there is no necessity for a new document on the agency's role. Thank you for watching us. As part of TV7 Israel's prayer initiative, I would like to encourage you today to join myself and the team here in Jerusalem to lift up the Ivory Coast in prayer for its salvation and peace, alongside our prayers for our persecuted brethren around the world, in addition to our ongoing prayers, of course, for the peace of Jerusalem, the salvation of Israel, for all those who are impacted by the corona contagion and its numerous ramifications worldwide. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Tov v'Shavua Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.